Good afternoon, everyone.
Hello.
Thank you. So I'm CL. I'm gonna talk about running Perlish small business with Perl, which is less technical talk, which is lots of interesting things like try to run an interesting small business with Perl and in the way of like Perl. It's a bit long. Wait. So my name in Chinese, and people call me CL. So last month in OSDC TW, which is a conference like this in Taiwan but much smaller, we have a very interesting badge, just like the badge, conference badge is always like that. Instead, we have buttons, tiny buttons. So everyone gets their own button with their nickname and gravatar icons. This is by my little toy company in Taiwan called iink.com.
Unless CL hates you, and then it's just.
Anyway, so here's what you get on the website that you can design the button just like a little Photoshop-ish interface. And then there's a templating engine that replaced the camel icon with your gravatar icon and your name and things like that. So, right, but I was asking if Tasiko wants things like that for yapcasia, but it was a little bit too late, and so we didn't do that. So I'm going to talk about how all this like little toy company thing started. As you know, Jesse and I work in Best Practical. We make Gifty, we make RT, and SVK. All these are tools that, So all these are tools and open source things that help people get things done. So it's more like collaboration tools, and then, for example, RT lets you manage work together with the issue tracking system, and SVK lets you develop different software in a very distributed manner, and then things like that. So I was thinking, right, I've been doing software too long. I should try to do something different a little bit, and use all this software that we made to like actually use it to see how this gets things done easier and then properly. And so I decided to spend like 2 weeks like just sketching all these and then having something up and running. And besides, I thought, well, it would be nice. Does anyone know this book? So it's about like how you just how you build a business and then or something, and then you only spend 4 hours working. And all the more important things that you should do is lifestyle management, such as like coming here and then speaking conference. So this guy is a FreeBSD kernel developer called PHK. And so he was in a new project called Varnish, which is a web accelerator. So lots of people thought, a kernel developer writing web thingy, why? So like I went to one of his talk, and he's like, to show like how to write userland program properly with modern kernels. Okay, so Varnish is like a reverse proxy, just like what Squid can do, but it was like, for example, Squid was written in very old mindset of how Unix work. So it's got disk allocation and things, where Varnish is just using the kernel to do all the paging and all the swapping things to let the kernel do it, because it's quite modern now. So what I intended to do with this business running thing is also like to see how we can utilize all these nice tools that we built to actually help running a business. Okay, so what is this business about? It's called iink, or in Chinese. I don't know how to pronounce it in Japanese. So it's focused on mass customization. For example, the button thing you see, it's like each of them are different, and how do you produce them efficiently, and in a very not costly way. So, for example, we can get buttons out like in like 24 hours turnover. So and you can order that online, design it online, and gonna ship it next day. And here's the other one. It's a self-inked stamps. So basically, you design your stamps online, and these things are pre-inked, so you don't have to use a separate ink to I don't know how to say that, to fill it before stamping. So something like that, which is also customized to each of individual orders, and the buttons you already know. So it's got lots of things involved. For example, online order, you have to take online orders. You have to deal with payments. You have to print invoices. I don't know about in Japan, but in Taiwan, if you run a legitimate business, you have to print government issued unified kind of invoice in a particular format. Otherwise, you get like bugged by the IRS equivalent. Okay, and there's also issues for shipping, because when you get like 100 orders a day, how do you ship them correctly and without like having to hire someone to write the address like for individual orders and things like that. So also customer service. What if something goes wrong and then people demand a refund or something else, right? So that's many things to consider when you want to run a small business. So we'll go through them one by one. First of all, website. It looks like that. It's kind of well, it's on iink.com if you remember the name. It's got internationalized support, but right now there's no Japanese version, only English and Chinese. And the rendering engine backend, which is the preview engine that you see for designing buttons or stems, are using the Cairo rendering engine as the backend. So Cairo is a vector graphics library, 2D graphics library that allows you to throw everything in, well, not raster, in vector format. And you can output the things in SVG or PDF or rasterize it in PNG or anything, which is quite cool. So we wrote some software that doing some past translation on Cairo to achieve a certain effects. For example, a curvy text on the corner of the button, and this is a CPAN. I'm not sure if it's released or not. So you can do things like that, which is done by Cairo. So this is like a round stamp with the things on the corner. And we also support OpenID because it's kind of annoying to get people to register, to fill in information, to do whatever just to buy a tiny little thing, right? And for example, if I'm the customer, I don't want to buy like random things on random website. I have to sign up and things like that. Luckily, Yahoo supports OpenID. So once we switch on the OpenID support, which is one line in Jifty, then the customers in Taiwan, which they mostly have Yahoo accounts, can just use that. So we built a website pretty much in Jifty for everything. And it's got a very nice model declaring syntax. There's no Jifty talk this year, right? No, anyway. Sorry. So for example, if you build a database-oriented website, you usually have to do like a SQL database declaration and all the model and the data mapping things. But in Jifty, it's very declarative. You just mention that, right, there's a model called order with some references. For example, order by is referencing to users. Email type is that. And so Jifty does all the magic, including generating the SQL and then upgrading the database. If you have a new column in this order, you can just say, this column is new since version X and Y. So once you have that deployed, and then Jifty will upgrade the database for you automatically. And in Jifty, the templating is also a little bit different from traditional web application. It's not using template toolkit, not using, what else are they? HTML template or Mason. No, well, still a little bit Mason, but nowadays we use template declare, where you write all your templates in code, in Perl code. This is pure valid Perl without source filter. Okay, so what you can see here is basically we declare template code tracking, and it's a page, and there's the H2, and then the class of the H2, and then a span. And the underscore thing you see here is the IATN internationalization, and your getText equivalent will generate a PO file for translators translate. So what's interesting about this template is basically you no longer have to fiddle with all these styles and things, because most of them are handled by CSS nowadays. So basically you just have that and then have your designer work with the CSS. And furthermore, as you can see, the first line is myself equals shit, well, shipped. So you can actually subclass your templates. Okay? So for example, this is, for example, order viewing for customers. You can subclass it to order viewing for stuff or whatever in different class. And you can reuse all the logic in different templates, just subclass and override certain bits of it. And there's one feature I really like in Gifty is compressed CSS and JavaScript. This is what you see in Firebug if you go to Facebook. This is taken a couple months ago. I don't know if it's still true, but as you might know, most of the browser has a limit on the concurrent connection it can connect to the send host, right? So you can see here it's very much latency bound because it has to finish 4 requests in order to proceed with the next 4 requests and so on. So by the time it gets to the last request, it didn't start requesting 700 milliseconds before the initial request was done. So what Gifty has is a plugin that lets you insert one line in the config file, and then it magically concatenates all the JavaScript into one file and all the CSS into one file. And optionally, you can have the JavaScript minimized and gzipped. And Gifty is fully internationalized, so all you need to do in the website is like just like other open source software, you put underscore parens around the strings that you want to translate in templates and in code, because code is template. So you have just one way to do internationalize rather than multiple ways, different syntax in templates. It's all the same when you use Gifty. So there's another interesting plugin in Gifty that enables single-page plugin application. So once you turn on this plugin, it turns every click in your application into an AJAX request, replacing the whole page. So what's it for? When you have large amount of JavaScript, it doesn't. When the user clicks certain link, then the whole page reloads, and what? The JavaScript context get reinitialized, which can be slow, and especially when you have Firebug and some weird JavaScript library, and then the whole thing hangs for a second or two. So this is really nice and a very good improvement for user experience, that turning every links and every form post and everything into AJAX request, replacing the whole page. And it just works. Just enable the plugin. And it's recently got history support, so the backspace and the back and forward in browser all works. Right. Any questions so far? Feel free to interrupt me if there's any questions.
もし質問がありましたら今でもどうぞ。途中で質問あってもいつでもいいですよ。
I guess no. Just like Ingi said. All right. So what about payment processing? It's kind of annoying bit for actually receiving money from people who want to buy things from you. So the easiest thing is credit card, and I guess there are local credit card processing company in every country, and then you just have to deal with their crappy API and then do things, right? And there's PayPal if you want to accept like multi-currency payment and things like that. So in Taiwan, there's some interesting thing called virtual accounts. So like you can generate a series of account number that belongs to you, but it's individual to each order, with a checksum of the amount of the money the order consists and the due date of the payment. So each individual order's got particular set of numbers their account. So when they pay into different account, which then you use a program to retrieve that whoever paid how much, and then so there's no manual process involved that you can figure out, all right, this user has paid, this order has been paid, and things like that. So this is like a rule of a certain bank that we signed contract with, and basically you can see here is a checksum of your corporate ID and the due date of the payment and the amount of money to be received. And so that's pretty much it. And so basically for each order, you just display different account number for the order and tell user, pay us money in this account. So, and then the rest of the things are automated. And also this, the rule for generating the account for this particular bank was put on CPAN. And there's also popular, it's quite popular to pay all these kind of online things in convenience stores in Taiwan, because there are like over 5,000 convenience stores. If you've ever been there, it's like every corner has got a 7-Eleven and things like that. So what you need to do is basically generate a barcode for pretty much the same thing. So our bank provide that service, so we also wrote module and then put on CPen. Right, but to get people to get a user to print the barcode properly, you have to generate some kind of PDF or things, which is incredibly hard when you want to generate PDF with CSS. And also to generate PDF that contains Chinese or Japanese properly. So what we do is we found an XUL application called Mozilla 2PS, which basically automates your, for example, it's mostly like starting a Mozilla in the background and then press print, and then save as PDF, and then convert it to save a PS PostScript, and then convert it to PDF. So in the process, it was quite interesting because we found out this way, and then it's like, okay, now great, we just deploy it, right? And then no, actually, Zool Runner or Mozilla 2PS requires X server, and there's no X server on the server. So what you need is an XVFB, the frame buffer virtual X server, to be there, so for the Mozilla can connect to the X server. Right. So invoices printing. So we bought an invoice printer and export order information like amount of things charged and things to the YAML file and then print it. So this is what it looks like in the Taiwanese invoice. It's got unique items so government can trace you and things. And well, basically the number actually is a lottery. So every 2 months that they do a lucky draw for things like that. And anyways, so you have to print and cut and stamp. You need to stamp something of the information of your company onto the stamp, onto the invoice you printed. So we wrote some module, it's on CPen as well. And so in action, it's like that. So it's like, just keep printing, keep printing. So imagine you have to do this manually, like typing things for each of them, which most stores in Taiwan do. Right, so we use RT, request tracker, for customer service and internal status development and operation problem tracking, things like that. And we live in the cloud. And by using Google hosted services to receive our mails, and basically just use FDN to constantly pull mails into RT. So Google does the spam filtering for us. Of course, there's positive false and false positives. Right, and we use SVK for development. So it's version control system, and the interesting bit is they will always develop on branches. And when branches down, it's moved to release ready. And then the release manager moves things into release candidate, and then we hire very cheap people to do QA, and then do the actual release. So the SVK talk tomorrow will talk about this development practice and the new feature in SVK that makes this a lot easier. And we use Selenium to do QA. So Selenium is an automated JavaScript testing in your browser that it's got very nice interface and running screen that you can see what's going on. And so the conclusion for this talk is all the things we do is mostly open source. And basically, it's like lowering the barrier for if you want to run online small business, well, in particular in Taiwan, because we got all the tools in Taiwan like written. And so by doing that, actually raises the barrier for when you want to run a business, you have to actually have some creativity and also competence, because technical things it's not that important. It's not that much of competence advantages. So, questions?
何か質問ありましたら。
Sorry.
The level of poor knowledge you need to have to that sort of business. Like I'm using GPT and yeah, I'm talking about the level, right?
The question is what kind of level you need for running such business?
Yep, I mean to set up such kind of website, web applications.
So I guess
ちょっと質問を日本語に訳します。こういうことを実現するのに、大体どれぐらいの経験があればいいんでしょうかっていう質問の趣旨ですよね。
I think this is a very tough question. It's more like how much experience you need to write a certain piece of software. So I'm comparing like running a business with like writing software in particular in the context of open source. And so I think it's not necessarily just experience. You need to know like what can do what, what's new, and then who knows what. You can, when you have questions, who you can ask, and all the things. So it's more like it's similar to writing software. You don't really need to be a very good programmer to get software done. Sometimes you do, and sometimes you can ask people and then make people do it for you.
まあ、この話は、まあ、ソフトウェアっていうか、ビジネスにおいての話なんですけども、やっぱオープンソースソフトウェアのところで、まあ、経験はあることに越したことないんですけど、結局、まあ、我々オープンソースの開発者として、自分で分からないことがあったら、とにかく人に聞く。上手にそのネットワークを使う。で、その知らないところでつまずいたりしないで、とにかく対策を打つっていうのが、まあ、大事なところでしょうっていうところですね。まあ、書いてそんなに経験は必要としないんじゃないか。逆にクリエイティビティの方がネックでしょう。Any other questions? 他の質問ないでしょうか。
See, I'm more popular than Ingi.
How much time did you spend to develop the site? How much time did you spend for the building the site, development site?
For initial or for?
I'm sorry. Yeah. How much time did you spend to develop the service you introduced?
Like I say in the slides, it's like 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
Oh, was it 2 weeks? I'm sorry about that.
質問は、これを実現するのに大体どれぐらいかかったんですか。で、スライドにあったんですけど、大体2週間でこういうものが実現できますと。
Does Cairo-based engine is related to GTK2
カイロは GTK2 に、関するものですか。Is Cairo a GTK2 library or what is Cairo?
Cairo is just a graphics library that handles all the vector things, and modern GDK and I believe Pango as well. Like they're kind of connected, and so modern GDK is using Cairo as a rendering backend, and Cairo is more like a vector handling library. So it takes instructions for like draw something here, and then use that image and then translate it to here, and it's kind of like abstract layer in the middle that it can has a PDF backend or X backend or Quartz backend up to macOS 10 and things like that.
カイロのもの自体はレンダリングライブラリとして、そのバックエンドをちょっと抽象化できるものです。で、PDF であったり、いろんなことであったり、それでもいいんですけど、で、今の GTK でも、who can do it from modern GTK stuff? で、まあ、現在の GTK でも、それを使って、カイロのレンダリングライブラリを使って実現できることです。で、ちょっと時間オーバーをしてますんで、そこの辺で止めさせていただきます。
Yes.
Questions are there. Thank you so much. See y'all.
Thank you. And I'll be around in the conference, so if you have questions, further questions for anything, just feel free to speak to me. Thank you.